Okay, in this video, we're going to be talking about finding probability using tree diagrams. So let's go and get started. Now, here's an example of a tree diagram. All right. So what we have here is a tree diagram where it's been cut up into many different pieces. Now, just to make sure we know what's going on with the tree diagram always starts at the root, which would be right here. So this is the root. Okay. So from here, if you notice from the tree diagram, you have a couple of options. You could either choose red, you can choose white, or you can choose brown. Now, since you're dealing with the first choice being three choices, so one of three choices, the probability for this branch for choosing red would be 1 out of 3. Okay. White would be 1 out of 3. Or choosing brown, that is your third option, which again, probability 1 out of 3. Okay. Now, let's play the what if game. What if the person chose red? Okay. So let's say the first choice was red, and then if you notice, you now have three more choices. So three more choices: red, white, or brown, red, white, or brown. So what that means is, again, once you have chosen red, you now have three more choices. If you choose red again, that would be 1 out of 3. So it'll be 1 out of 3. And then white would be 1 out of 3. And then lastly, brown would be 1 out of 3. Now, this is repeated throughout the rest of the tree diagram where the second decision would be a 1 out of 3 depending on, what you're choosing here. All right. Now, the best thing to do is once we put all these probabilities on the tree, then start answering questions just to really make sense. Okay. So let's see if I can change the view here. Okay. There, and let's hide that. All right. So hopefully you can see this. All right. Now, for this question at the very top, it says, what is the probability? All right. So what is the probability of someone choosing red for their first choice? All right. Now, it actually just happened to be highlighted. So choosing red, as you can see, this branch is highlighted red. The probability of someone choosing red would be a 1 out of 3 situation. All right, so here you're not using the entire tree, you're just using only one decision inside the tree. Now, in the next question, it says, what is the probability of someone choosing red for their first choice and then brown for their second choice? All right, now the best way to explain this is to highlight. So the question is, red is their first choice. I guess we could have left that highlighted, but we didn't. So choosing red as someone's first choice. All right, that's a 1 out of 3 situation. Okay, and then brown for their next choice, which would be again 1 out of 3 situation. And so basically, I kind of look at a tree as like a map. Okay, so think of it like a map, and that is you had to go in order to go from here to here. You had to take the 1/3 road, and then you have to take from red to brown. You have to take another 1/3 road. So you had to use two roads or two branches. Now, whenever you're dealing with multiple branches, what you're going to do is you're going to multiply them. So 1/3 times 1/3, which gives you an answer of 1/9. 1/9. So you have a 1 out of 9 possibility of red being chosen first and then brown. All right. So let me clean this thing back up and let's answer the third question. All right. So here the next question is, what is the probability of someone choosing brown for their first choice and then brown again for their second choice? All right. So brown for their first choice, we got to use the brown um, branch here, which is 1/3, and then brown again right here to get brown. So we had to use two branches, again, just like the last one. We're using two branches, so 1 out of 3 times 1 out of 3, and your answer is 1 out of 9. All right. Now, the next question here, I think we're going to change it up a little bit. So let's see. All right, for the next question, it says, what is the probability of choosing white for their first choice and then either red or white? All right, so white is their first choice. All right, so let's go ahead and do the white road. So we should already know what's going on with this. So it's going to be one out of three. But then this is where it gets a little challenging, and that is this: either red or white. So either red or white. Okay. So what we have here is because of the fact that both of these two choices is what we're looking for, one or the other, this actually makes this fraction 2 out of 3. Okay, because there's two roads that we could take out of 3. All right, so then it becomes we're taking the 1 out of 3, and then we are going to multiply it by 2 out of 3, and then your answer is going to be 2 out of 9. Okay, and the only reason because we're doing 2 out of 3 is because for our second choice, we could either choose red or white, which are two roads. Now, for this question here, if 800 people were involved in the tree, how many people would choose red for their first choice? Okay. Now, let's clean this up a little bit. All right, let's get rid of that 2 out of 3. No sense confusing us any more than we already are, right? All right. Now, if 800 people, how many people would choose red for their first choice? So all we're looking for is red as your first choice. So that means we're only stopping here, which means this is a 1/3 situation. So the probability of choosing red for your first choice is 1 out of 3. But the question is not asking you for the probability, it's asking for the number of people. So all we have to do is take the probability and then just multiply it by the number of people. Now we're going to end up getting a decimal here, but I just went ahead and rounded to the nearest whole. All right, lastly, it says if 500 people were involved in the tree, how many people choose white and then brown for their second choice? Okay, so let's find the probability first. So choosing white for their first choice, we got to take this 1/3, and then brown, which is right here, which is another 1/3. So we're dealing with two branches. So hopefully by now you know that we're going to take both of these branches and multiply them together, okay, which gives us 1/9. But since we're actually dealing with people, we got to go one more step and times by the number of people. And we're going to get a decimal. So I'm just going to go ahead and round to the nearest whole, which is 56 people. All right. Now, the next tree that we're dealing with, you notice that we now have weights on each of the branches. Now, what these weights represent is the probability. Okay, so if you look at the last tree that we just did, the last tree that we did, notice we started off with nothing on here. So we had to go in and add 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Okay, now here for this upcoming tree that we're dealing with, now it's giving us all the probabilities. Now it looks confusing, but it's really not. So let's go ahead and do this first question and put all this together. All right, so first off, it says, what do you notice? Observation skills. What do you notice about the percentages every time the tree branches out? So that means every time the tree branches out, like these three, branches out here, branches out here, it branches out here, it branches out there. And I'm not highlighting them all, but it branches out here. If you notice every single time it branches out, the branches add to 100%. Okay? So, like for example, if I was to look at this first branch out, which is here, here, and here, if I was to add all these three numbers, that would add up to 100%. So 42, 36, 22. This would add up to 100%. All right, well, let's try this branch out. Look at this branch out right here. 75, 15, 10. Add them all up, you get 100%. Look at this branch out. Just again, this will be our last example. 60, 23, 17. This all adds up to 100%. So every time something branches out, all the branches will add up to 100%. All right? So let's do question number 2. Since there are 3 egg choices, 3 meat choices, 3 bread choices, how many total breakfast combinations are available? Okay, so we're not necessarily needing the tree for this one. So since there are 3 egg choices, so 3 egg choices, 3 meat choices, 3 bread choices, how many breakfast combinations are there? Well, this kind of goes back to the license plate lesson, where all you do is just multiply all the options. So 3 times 3 times 3 gives me 27 options. So 27 total options in this cafe. What is the probability that the next order is fried eggs, bacon, and Italian toast? Okay, so let's go. Now, this is where we have to go through our actual tree. Fried eggs. Fried eggs is right here. That's a 42%. Bacon, bacon, 75% chance that someone's going to order bacon, so bacon must be popular. And then Italian toast, which is right here, 60%. So if you notice, we're dealing with three branches here. And just like on that last tree, we're going to take all of the probabilities and multiply them together. So when we do the math, and I'm going to answer in the form of a percentage here, that's going to give me 18.9%. Okay? What is the probability that the next order is scrambled eggs? Well, notice that all we're given is just scrambled eggs. That's it. We're not saying scrambled eggs, bacon, ham, or whatever. It's just scrambled eggs. So using our tree, all we're doing is just focusing on scrambled eggs, which is right there, 36%. So it's going to be 36%. All right, now, question number 5. If 800 people ordered a breakfast from the bistro, how many ordered poached eggs, ham, and wheat toast? Okay, well, 800 people, how many ordered poached eggs? Well, that's 22% right there. There's that branch. Ham, which is right there, 15%, and wheat toast. Wheat toast is right here, which is 23%. Okay, so let's go ahead and multiply all of our percentages. 22% times 15% times 0.23, and we're going to get our percentage, and then we are going to multiply that by 800 people. So how many of those 800 people actually got that one combination? 6. 6 people. Okay? All right. Pause the video real quick and try question number 6. If 800 people ordered the breakfast from the bistro, how many people ordered fried egg, sausage, and white toast? So pause it. 3, 2, 1. Paused. Your answer should have been 6. Your answer should have been 6 people. All right. Now, the reason I did that was just because of the fact that I'm running a little behind on my time here. All right, for our last section, I would probably say this is the most challenging part of a tree because what we have here is an incomplete tree. We have an incomplete tree with incomplete branches. Okay, now what I would like you to do is go back to question number 1 on the last one. The branches add up to 100%. This one concept is going to help you a lot. Now, what that means is every time the tree branches out, so it branches out here, it branches out here, it branches out here. Those are all the things those are all the times that tree branches out. Now remember, every time it branches out, it equals 100%. So if you notice, like on this very first one here, on the very first branch out, this is 90%, which means this right here would be 10%. Okay? Now, look down here at this 12%. So we have a branch out right here at 12%, which means the blank up underneath it would be 88%. Okay? Now, let's start filling in all of these numbers here. Now, notice that there's some things that aren't filled out yet because we can't do it at this point in time. There's not enough information. All right, so the first one we're going to do is we are going to do this problem right here, x. Now, very simple, so pay attention. Again, think of this tree diagram like a map, okay? So think of it like a map. And so like a map, we're starting here because this is the root of our tree. We want to end here That's our final destination. We would have to take this road here, and then we'd have to take this road here. So the two roads that we'd be taking, that's a 90% road, that's an 88% road. So to figure out our destination, all we would do is multiply 90 by 88%. So 90 by 88% would give us 79.2%. Okay? Now, let's try to answer this one right here. Okay? Again, looking at it like a map, we would have to take the 90% route, and then we would have to take this road here, which is 12%. Well, doing exactly what we just did, 90 times 12%, x will end up being 10.8%. All right? Now, we're going to deal into a little more challenging stuff, okay? And a little more challenging things that we have is going to be this one right here, okay? Now, understand where we're at. We already know our destination. We already know that it equals 7.5, okay? Now, in order to get, using the map mentality, starting from here, we go up 10%. We'd have to go down this unknown road to get 7.5%. Now, remember what you do. Every road that you take, like these two roads that you would take, you would multiply them to get 7.5. Well, you already know the answer is 7.5%. You know you have to multiply it by 10%. So it's like, what would you have to multiply 10% times x to get this number? Well, you have to reverse it, okay? So basically look at it from this type of math problem, and that is 10% times what gives me 7.5%? Question mark. Okay? So using math, all I would do is just divide 7.5% by 10%. So we do the exact reverse. So when I did that, when I took 7.5% and divided by 10%, I end up with 75%. Now, once you figure out that this is 75%, this is easy right here because this right here would be 25%. Remember, because of the fact that that's a branch out and that always equals 100%. And then to figure out this right here, again, you would take the 10% branch, times it by the 25% branch, and your answer ends up being 2.5%. All right? So that's how you do it. Now, there's probably going to be some questions on this part, and that's understandable because of the fact that I went over this only one time, and sometimes it's harder to do a concept just one time. So anyway, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.